I recently finished 6th place at the Birmingham Regional Championships out of almost 700 players, and in this video I'm going to talk about my team and the run. It's not always easy to be both a professional Pokemon commentator and player at the same time. I don't get as many opportunities to play in tournaments because, well, I'm also commentating some of them. But I knew that with only a couple of tournaments left for me to play in the season, I really needed to make Birmingham Regionals count. And so I started preparation for this tournament a couple of weeks before, over Christmas time. It's a good time of the year, of course, to relax with loved ones, but also it's a good time to play some Pokemon. And I knew pretty early on that I wanted to play some sort of balanced team. And this is also, the team that I ended up bringing to the event. There's a little bit of backstory in regards to the team, because initially I wanted to use something a little bit different. I initially wanted to bring a balanced team that was using Landorus I, because I thought it was pretty good in the mirror against Calm Mind Raging Bolt. But in the end I couldn't get the team working, and so my good friend Justin Karras, he kind of showed how it's done at the Toronto Regional Championships, as he came in top 16 there. And I ended up bringing pretty much the exact same team after he talked through some of his thoughts with the team. And if you want to see it in action, piloted by him, he also made a very insightful analysis of his top 16 game against Paul Chua, which happened to be a balanced mirror. And unfortunately it didn't go so well for him in the end, but he's talking about the reasons for that in that video. So definitely go check that out if you want to understand the team a little bit more. But basically he was just explaining to me that he thought the team was pretty good and that he could have taken it a bit further. So when I was struggling a little bit, like just before the tournament, he kind of suggested to try out his team, and that's what I did. And then I ended up doing pretty well with it. So before going into my run, let's have a quick look at the team. So the 6 Pokemon itself aren't that special. It's just, looks like an ordinary Raging Bolt balanced team. But when having a closer look, we will find some, surprising tech moves on some of the Pokemon. So the bread and butter, I would say, of a lot of these standard compositions is, of course, you have Incineroar, you have Rillaboom for the double Fake-Out core, and then you have your attackers with the Rapid Strike Urshifu and Ogerpon Hearthflame to really utilize the turns that you get with Fake-Out, and then you can either just use Urshifu with Unseen Fists to just go for Surging Strikes when the opponent cannot really protect against it, or you can use the Ogerpon Hearthflame to set up a Sword Stance and then sweep your opponent's team that way. A lot of these teams usually use Calm Mind Raging Bolt, but on this team it is actually the Life Orb set with the Terra Electric, which allows this Raging Bolt to play a little bit of a different role. I feel like a lot of players have kind of figured out how to play against the Calm Mind set, and by going with the Life Orb, you not only do you get like the immediate damage boosts, but you're also a little bit more flexible with your moves. You actually get to run Thunderbolt, which is of course not something you usually get to use on the Calm Mind set, and that means that you're shut down pretty badly by Pokemon like Terra Fairy for Farigiraf, and also there's a lot of like redirection in the format. Like for example, a Terra Fairy Amoonguss can Rage Powder against a Calm Mind Raging Bolt, and you cannot touch it with either of your offensive moves. Since Dragon Pulse is not going to work on the Terra Fairy, and then Thunderclap only works if they're using a damaging move the same turn. So this is a lot more flexible. With the boosted Thunderbolt, you can go for damage right away. You still have the priority with Thunderclap, which is pretty important. And then you also get to use Draco Meteor, which was very, very helpful during my run. You can get a lot of damage on the board against, for example, against Amoonguss, against Incineroar. But it also really helps to just make this Raging Bolt like go for one big hit, like maybe hit a Draco Meteor on a switch in, and then you can switch out and pivot back in later on because of the good natural bulk. And then the last Pokemon on the team here is a Fluttermane, which has this interesting set of Pain Split with Terra Grass, and there are some matchups where this Flutter Mane is just so hard to remove, and it's just ridiculous where they try to like knock you down with like a Wood Hammer or some Surging Strikes, and if you play smartly with your Intimidate and with your Fake Out, then you can very, very often get into positions where you have a low HP Flutter Mane, and then you can go for like a Fake Out on the one slot and Pain Split the other, and yeah, gain so much health back. And this really allows the Flutter Mane to kind of be both, like be really annoying for your opponent because it's very, very hard to remove, but at the same time it also deals a lot of damage with the Pain Split. And yeah, we'll talk about my run in a second, but it definitely came up clutch in some of the matches. Yeah, for the other Pokemon, we talked about them briefly. I knew that for this tournament, I really wanted to use Citrus Berry on Incineroar, just because I felt like it would be a pretty nice item for the kind of the cycling style that I like to play in a lot of matchups, where you end up switching in and out Rillaboom and Incineroar pretty often. And yeah, Citrus Berry was really, really good for that. And then I also wanted to have both Flare Blitz and Knockoff, just because having consistent ways of doing damage is pretty nice, and then removing items can also be really helpful. For my Ogerpon Hearthflame, I actually went with a pretty offensive set with Jolly and a lot of attack. So yeah, didn't have a lot of bulk, but I think it still was able to do the job on the team quite nicely in the matchups where I needed it. And then the Urshifu was pretty bulky instead, with the Mystic Water and Terra Steel, just to be really bulky in quite a few matchups. And I think it kind of paid off. I think if you're running both Ogerpon and Urshifu on the same team, you probably want to be like bulky with one of them, but then really fast with the other one. This is just because Landorus Eye can be pretty problematic for teams like this. This is also the reason why initially I wanted to try using Landorus Eye myself, but then I couldn't get it to work properly. But yeah, I think you want either the Hearthflame Ogerpon or the Urshifu to outspeed timid Landorus, or else it can be pretty dicey. And yeah, in fact, in my tournament run, it was pretty dicey playing against Landorus. But then let's have a quick look at some of the matchups I played in this tournament. So I decided a couple of weeks ago that I wanted to go to Birmingham because as a commentator, I just don't get so many events. And this was one of the tournaments where I knew I wouldn't be commentating. So I booked the flight, I got the ticket, and I was like really excited to start off the new year by playing some regulation set F. But yeah, it wasn't actually too easy to build a team for this tournament because the format, of course, we were playing the same format like 2 years ago at this point, and the teams that I liked using there, I feel like I never really got to kind of build the balanced team that I always wanted to build in that format, because at the time I couldn't really get Rillaboom to work for me, and so I was using mainly Incineroar Amoonguss. But now it felt like, I don't know, maybe the metagame progression was definitely there with the bulky Urshifu, but just something like really clicked with me about that. And so using the team in this tournament, like I knew that I was quite well prepared, but I actually hadn't played that many games with this particular version of Justin. I was mainly using like some different Flutter Mane sets, maybe like not the Life Orb Raging Bolt. This was also fairly new to me. But overall, I mean, I knew what the Pokemon were supposed to do, and Justin gave some really, really good insights in how to use them. And so when I saw the team of my first opponent here, I was quite happy because Michael was playing a team that you don't get to see too often. He was running a Zapdos, Assault Vest Great Tusk, so two very, very unique Pokemon. And I remember like looking at this and just thinking like, oh wow, like this is pretty cool for me to kind of just get into the tournament, because it looked like a competitive team, but at the same time I thought that maybe my Raging Bolt and my Incineroar Rillaboom core could really shine here in this particular matchup. And this is also what ended up happening. I kind of like had to predict a couple of moves coming out from the Great Tusk. But then I kind of like, I don't know, I switched in Rillaboom into Headlong Rush, stuff like that, and just whittled it down a little bit with my Incineroar's Intimidate. And then I ended up winning both games with Raging Bolt and I think Urshifu or Ogerpon. With that, I started the day with a win. But I also, of course, knew that coming up, maybe there were going to be some more meta teams that were coming up. And as I'm sitting here, I remember I didn't bring my notes, but I definitely have them somewhere. So I'll be right back with my notes. And here I am. I found my notes and can confirm that this is what they usually look like. I like keeping track of what was going on with my opponent's team, and then here I usually write down which Pokemon came to which battle for them, and then down here there's like some extra notes. For example, if there's something interesting with the speed tiers, for example, if both players have Incineroar, it's pretty useful to know which Incineroar is faster. If there is like a Calc that I was surprised by, for example, then I would also write that down. So being 1-0, I was feeling quite confident to go further with the team. And in the second round, I had the chance to try out Fluttermane for the first time because I was playing against Nicholas, and Nicholas was using a balanced team as well. And in this matchup, the Fluttermane can be really annoying for my opponent to deal with because with the Pain Split, Pain Split actually does not count as an attacking move. So even though, if you have lower HP than your opponent, then you will do damage to them. But Thunderclap fails on the Pain Split. So actually, if you taunt Raging Bolt, then it cannot really do too much to the Fluttermane at all. And I think this is also what ended up happening in one of the games where Fluttermane was just really, really difficult for my opponent to remove. Nicholas played well, also finishing the tournament 4-4. The team also looked pretty strong. Quite similar to what ended up winning the event actually. One Pokemon change. I won 2-0 mainly with going for the Fluttermane. And something that I realized in this round in particular was the fact that, my team is just like really, really versatile. So if we go back to my team real quick, I think I played one of the games. I played with a Fluttermane, Incineroar, and Rillaboom core, and I just played like very, very slowly, going for like a lot of like Pain Splits, taunting the Raging Bolt, going for some fake out parting shot, all of that. And then the other game, I opened with Rillaboom and Urshifu and just went for turn 1 fake out Surging Strikes and did a lot of damage to my opponent early on. And I think that is what kind of also makes this team really scary to face, because you never really know what they're gonna do, right? Like you could be staring down a booster energy Fluttermane next to, for example, Urshifu or Ogerpon right away, which would be very, very offensive start. But it could also be like an Incineroar and Fluttermane for like a little bit of a defensive setup. Or it could be like one of the attackers and one of the fake outs. So it's, you just never really know kind of what to expect when playing against this team. My round 3 against Jay was actually quite funny. I hadn't met Jay before, but he was definitely a very nice guy. I think just in general, like all my opponents were really, really nice, and it was a lot of fun just interacting with them before the games as well. But I remember Jay in particular, we had a little bit of a chat before our games, which was fun, but then the games themselves, they were, even more fun, but also very, very stressful. Because Jay played really well, and also their team is just really, really strong. One thing with the taunt Fluttermane, like you never really know how your opponent is going to react to it. So I did have taunt on the Fluttermane, but you're not always leading it against Trick Room based teams, and so I didn't really know whether Jay would lean into the Farigiraf, for example, or if he was like a little bit too scared that it would just like stay on the field. Without accomplishing too much due to the taunt. So game 1, I lead with the Fluttermane, and he actually did not bring the Farigiraf. So Fluttermane was a little bit of a waste there, and also I think went down quite early. But that game, it came down to the absolute like nightmare of any VGC player. It came down to his 1 HP Urshifu down to the focus sash, like literally 1 HP against my Ogre Pawn, and I'm at like just like 20 HP or something. And Grassy Terrain like wore off a little bit too soon for me, so I didn't have priority anymore. And yeah, you know where this is going. This was a textbook Sucker Punch mind game. So yeah, if he manages to go for the Sucker Punch, then I will be knocked out and the game is over. But of course, Sucker Punch only works if I'm using an attacking move. And so for like 3 or 4 turns, I was just sitting there and I was just clicking Sword Stance. So I was going for Sword Stances, Jay was trying to go for Sucker Punches, but they failed. And at some point, well, of course, you start thinking, well, if you're Jay, right, like, oh, I only have so many power points. At some point, I can't use Sucker Punch anymore. And I was, yeah, you can see it actually. You can see it like down here. I was like, I don't know if you can see it, but it's there. Like I was just like doing, like I was counting the Sucker Punch PP to see, yeah, how often the move could still be used by Jay. And then at some point he started to mix in a couple of detects because, yeah, well, detect is not going to do anything. Like it's not going to make him win the game, but there's also no risk of losing because, yeah, if he goes for detect as I'm going for like any move, basically, well, it doesn't advance the board position, but it just prolongs the game and prolongs this like, well, stalemate-ish kind of situation. And after I don't know how many turns, after many turns, at one point I'm like, okay, he's still got like 3 Sucker Punches left maybe. I'm just going for it. So I go for Ivy Cudgel, and we're like praying like please just go for like Wicked Blow or something. But he goes for Detect, and so the cycle continues. And then a couple turns later, like, yeah, I'm going for an attack again, and this time he didn't Sucker Punch, he didn't Detect, and I knock out the Urshifu, and I take the game 1. And yeah, it was like very close. And of course, Jay, statistically speaking, I guess he had the odds in their favor because I needed to get every single turn correctly, while they only needed to get it correctly once. But I ended up winning that 1v1, and yeah, from that point on, I was like feeling like really confident. I was like, oh wow, if I could win from a position like that, then I can probably win from many other positions as well. And so because this game was so close, for the second game, I decided to take a little bit of a risk, and I didn't bring Fluttermane. So that would have been pretty bad if he went for the Farigiraf mode. But yeah, luckily for me, Jay went with the non-Trick Room mode again. And then, yeah, my Rillaboom and Urshifu mode worked really nicely. And I got to, yeah, target down his Ogre Pawn with my Rillaboom, if I'm not mistaken. And then from there, just Surging Strikes was just like a little bit too strong. So, yeah, very close game 1. Yeah, a little bit more convincing game 2. But then I won against Jay like that, and so I was advancing to 3-0, and I hadn't dropped a game yet, which at this point of the tournament, of course, it doesn't really mean much, but was a nice feeling. The feeling was still nice, but when I met Quentin, but then I checked the team sheet, and I was like, yeah, you know, maybe not the team that I wanted to face, because, well, yeah, I mean, like, I'm fine playing against a team like this in any tournament, but of course, yeah, it can go very long. Sorry, the games can go very long, and they can be a bit frustrating because, yeah, if the Galarian Weezing manages to set up Toxic Spikes, and then the Dondozo just sits there, goes for Order Up, boosts the defense even more, and then for Body Press, it's just very difficult to break through. And yeah, I actually managed to win this set 2-0 again by kind of calling out his leads a little bit. So I was expecting a Weezing and Regigigas lead for the first game, and this is also what ended up happening. And I was doing Fluttermane and Raging Bolt, and I went for, I think I went for Icy Wind and Draco Meteor into the Regigigas. Unfortunately, Regigigas, without the slow start, it was actually Jolly max speed, and my Flutter Mane was just barely slower than that. So it ended up going for Heavy Slam for a lot of damage on the Flutter Mane. And then I managed to knock out Regigigas with the Icy Wind and Draco Meteor, but then Weezing went for Sludge Bomb into my Flutter Mane, since, yeah, I had Terrat to Grass. So it was a 3v3. But it's not so easy now for him to position, because I have the Life Orb Raging Bolt on the field, and because his Dondozo is unaware and because he doesn't have Earthquake, the Raging Bolt ended up just sitting on the field for a couple turns, just clicking Draco Meteor, and Dondozo with unaware, ignored the special attack drops, and so I think I just played nicely with Fake Out. I expected, I knew when the Tatsugiri was going to switch in. I protected on on the correct turn as well, and he never got a poison. And so I ended up winning that game, mainly with Fake Out and Raging Bolt in the end game. And then for the second game, I was leaning a little bit more into Flutter Mane, Incineroar, to be more equipped against the Dragonite and Chien-Pao. That I thought could be an adaptation for Quinton, and this is also what ended up happening. So I felt like I had an advantage early on because I was focusing on those Pokemon this game, and that ended up working pretty nicely. I was Dondozo in the back, but because of this particular moveset, I identified that Raging Bolt could actually always take an attack and then strike back with Thunderbolt, force out the Terastallization, or then just go for Draco Meteor. And then with the Fake Outs that I had, I could whittle down Dondozo and take the game, take the set, and move on to 4-0. Next up, I was playing against Samuel. Now there's a streak of Brits that I was playing against. Samuel played pretty well. Had one of the more standard teams that I faced on the first day, where it was one of the teams that were became popular during some of the online tournaments with Thunderwave, Flutter Mane, Ogerpon Wellspring, and Hisuian Arcanine Core. And in this set, I think I managed to use Urshifu really nicely, and I didn't give the Raging Bolt too much space. In fact, it didn't feel good for Samuel in the first game, and they didn't bring it in the second game, which I was happy to see. At first glance, when seeing like a Raging Bolt and Ogerpon Wellspring, it might be a bit counterintuitive to bring Urshifu, but if you kind of know, or if you can kind of expect how they will switch, because a lot of their Pokemon are pretty weak against Urshifu, and if you can just get a couple of reads in at the right time, then Urshifu is still really, really strong, even against a team like this. And so this is what ended up happening in those games, and once again I was able to win 2-0. So I still hadn't dropped a game at this point in the tournament, and I was feeling pretty happy with the 5-0 start. But of course, with this tournament structure, it's quite difficult to advance to Top Cut, because we have so many players, almost 700 players, and only in this case I think 13 players made it to Top Cut, so that's just a tiny fraction of all players. And so I knew that I just had to keep on winning, and that is what I try to do. In my 6th round, I played against Luke, and this was actually their very, very first tournament. And they had an incredible start to the tournament as well, going 5-0. And as we can see, I ended up winning our encounter, but then they played against two really, really strong players afterwards. And so finished in 100th place, but a very, nice guy and strong first tournament for Luke here, who was coming in with what seemed like an adaptation of the team that Aaron Brock was using in Toronto. So with the Cresselia and Ursaluna combination. And I didn't really have a set game plan as to how I wanted to approach this, but I figured that depending on which mode he was leaning into, Urshifu could be quite strong. And in game 1, he ended up going for a full Trick Room mode, and I ended up going for Incineroar, Urshifu, Rillaboom, and Ogerpon. And that just was good enough to barely win that game. I think it came down to a couple of moves where it was like, is he going to kind of predict my move? Is he going to Spore my Rillaboom as I switched out into Urshifu or something like that? But I got most of those calls correct, and ended up taking the first game. And in game 2, I ended up going for a Flutter Mane based game plan to shut down this Cresselia with Taunt, and that worked pretty well at first, but the Cresselia just started to go for Icy Wind, and I didn't really consider it when I kind of went for my Flutter Mane based game plan for the second game, but this Cresselia was actually quite speedy. It was outspeeding my Urshifu, and after an Icy Wind, it was outspeeding my Incineroar without an Icy Wind, and after an Icy Wind, it was outspeeding my Urshifu, my Rillaboom, and it was not so easy to knock out at all. And so we ended up in a situation where I didn't have great ways to remove the Incineroar, because I didn't actually bring Urshifu to the second game. Maybe Luke was a bit nervous, or maybe not so used to the tournament setting, but he ended up losing on your time actually. So spent a little bit too much time navigating those tricky turns. It was quite tricky because very often there were many options for both players. In the end I managed to win because he was out of your time. I think I still was in a solid position, but it was like a 2v2 in the end. And with that, I took another 2-0 win, and I moved on to 6-0 and still hadn't dropped a game. So I was quite happy with my performance up until this point. If you were watching the stream, then you knew what was happening next. I played against Jonathan Marston, Jono TV, and I did not win that one. I think I'm going to do a little bit of a in-depth kind of review of that game since it was streamed, and so I'm not going to spoiler too much about what was going on in the games, but I ended up losing that one. Next up, I played against Eden Bachelor, who won the regional championships in Frankfurt in regulation set H. And was it Stuttgart? I think Stuttgart, one of the German ones with the Rain team. And they were bringing an adaptation kind of this team that we saw before, also on stream in Toronto. This one is an Assault Vest Rillaboom actually. And very, very interestingly, I said it before with my Life Orb Raging Bolt that I get to use Thunderbolt because I'm not the Calm Mindset. Well, Eden said, well, I don't really care about the general way that people run Raging Bolt. I'm going to run it anyway with Calm Mind and with Thunderbolt on the same set. And it was actually quite scary, especially in the second game. But first things first, in the first game, I ended up going for a Rillaboom and Urshifu lead, because once again, it can work against teams like this as well, because sometimes they will not lead their Ogerpon, Raging Bolt, Rillaboom early on. I got lucky and I caught a Moltres and Flutter Mane lead. So I would say definitely a little bit favorable for me. But I knew that they probably had two of the Pokemon that could deal with Urshifu in the back. But I was fortunate enough that they actually were bringing the Hisuian Arcanine as well in the back. And so, I made the right call with going for Urshifu in that first game. And I ended up winning just because they didn't have enough switch-ins to Searching Strikes. And then in the second game, I was thinking about just leaving Urshifu behind. But I ended up telling myself, you know what, maybe they will kind of go with a similar plan, expecting me to expect them to adapt to the Urshifu. And so I saw myself going up against a a Rillaboom and Raging Bolt lead, which, yeah, is not what you want to see with an Urshifu lead. But I made a couple of really, really hard calls. I went for close combat against the Raging Bolt right away. And then also later in the game, when it was their Raging Bolt against my Raging Bolt, I went for a Thunderbolt as they went for the Terra Fairy. So I had to go for some pretty aggressive reads to come back into this one because they really got me nicely with the leads. But yeah, I ended up getting those reads correctly. And so I was finishing phase 1 with a 7-1 record, which, yeah, I was very, very happy with. But in this particular tournament, we still had one more round to play. And even though it was getting late, everyone, was maybe a little bit tired. I was playing against Stefano. And Stefano had a really interesting team with a combination of Pokemon that I hadn't really seen too much in this format. With the Heatran. And yeah, they played really, really well, I would say, and didn't really give me any opportunities in the first game to strike with Urshifu. They positioned their Ogerpon and Amoonguss very, very well, as well as then Incineroar and Fluttermane as well, and I just, couldn't break through that core with how I approached the game. In the second game, then I was leaning more into the Ogerpon, and ended up getting like a prediction right, and I ended up getting a Sword Stance up, and then I could do a lot of damage from there, and ended up winning the second game. But then, the question was, okay, who's gonna adapt, and which Pokemon are we going to see in the final game? And I ended up not going with Raging Bolt because I was afraid of maybe like Landorus mix-up from their side. But in the end, they actually didn't bring Landorus or Fluttermane in the deciding game 3 and went with the other 4, and I didn't bring Raging Bolt, and so then it was really, really difficult to break through the core that they had. And even though, of course, with Mold Breaker, Ogerpon can hit the Heatran through Flash Fire, they were smart enough to never terrestrialize the Heatran, and then they just always kept spamming Parting Shot and Intimidate with Incineroar, and I never really got going with Ogerpon, and so I ended up losing that match to finish the day. But still, 7-2 on the day. I was quite happy with my performance. The team did what I wanted it to, and so I was quite happy to advance into phase 2, but I also knew that on the next day I would need to actually win all of my games to make it into Top Cut. And so my first opponent on the next day was against Santi from Spain, and they were also playing a really, really strong tournament. They were bringing the team that won Toronto Regionals, and with the Roaring Moon and the Goldingo, and they were playing it really, really well as well, and ended up finishing in the top 32 at the end. But I don't really fully recall how the games exactly went. But I remember in the third game, I ended up adjusting with Raging Bolt, which I didn't bring in games 1 or 2. And I ended up getting an early knockout on Incineroar with Draco Meteor. But then they really positioned really nicely with Landorus, and I didn't have great switches for Landorus. But I managed to find a spot where they were under pressure with Landorus, and so I expected them to swap out Landorus into Amoonguss, and I went for Flare Blitz with my Incineroar, which was a really risky move, but it ended up working perfectly as they switched Landorus into Amoonguss. And then I also got a critical hit on that turn, and depending on how it was trained, it might have mattered, it probably mattered, but with the crit, it was definitely going down, and then from there on, I actually, had an advantage that I didn't let go. So I very, very narrowly ended up winning against Santi here, and my dream was still alive, still felt a bit bad, beating a strong player, also partly due to the critical hit. But they hit many Sandsear Storms in the other game, but it's whatever. And then I was very surprised when I when I came to the next game and I was seeing, oh, I'm playing against Mr. Sandberg again from the Netherlands, just like I had played before. And so I was like very, very scared when looking at the team sheet. Was it going to be the same Dondozo team again? But no, they were actually they're brothers, but Livio actually was using a balanced team as well. So I wasn't like super stoked for the mirror. But probably probably better than facing another wheezing Dondozo at this rate in the tournament. And yeah, it was a very close set once more. Let me have a look at my notes. I think I swapped up my game plans as well in this one. And in the first game, I went with an Incineroar and Raging Bolt lead, trying to call out that maybe they didn't want to opt into this Fluttermane Mirror. And this is not what happened. They were bringing the Fluttermane, but I still managed to get a good positioning on them. And I don't remember where, but I think I got a lot of damage on the Incineroar with Draco Meteor. Could just kind of punch a hole into their team early on, and then in the late game, the Fluttermane with Pain Split was just unbeatable for them once I had taken care of their Fluttermane. So yeah, that was pretty good. I won the first one, but then going into the second game, they were adjusting with Ogerpon Hearthflame and didn't bring Fluttermane actually, and that ended up being a little bit more annoying. Ogerpon Hearthflame is one of those Pokemon that can deal really, really well with the Fluttermane, and so I never really got the whole Pain Split mode going. I think they were setting up as well at some point, and so I ended up losing the second game. And then in the third game, I was once again, I think, going for a Fluttermane-centric game plan, but I ended up playing just a bit better, just managed the board a bit better. And in the end, they had their Raging Bolt on the field, and I just got into position this time. Where I think in the second game, like, I didn't go for a taunt one turn, but then they set up Calm Mind, so I was a little bit behind there. But this game, in the third game, I ended up not falling for that. And I just remember a detail about the match that I will note down in my notes, because I was actually bringing the Ogerpon in the third game, and I ended up creating a spot where they I remember now. Yeah, I was trying to force their terrestrialization on the Raging Bolt, but they didn't go for it. And so in the end, we both had our Ogerpon terrestrialized, and I just we were both boosted up as well. But I ended up moving first, and I went for like a +3, I think, Ivy Cudgel, and it KO'd them from where they were. And then I also KO'd Incineroar and Raging Bolt. So yeah, Ogerpon definitely the star of that game, because they weren't bringing Urshifu, and so I felt safe going for the Ogerpon based game plan. And yeah, with that, I was feeling pretty well. Only needed one more win to advance into Top Cut, but I was met with Femi, and I had played against them before in Stockholm Regionals, where they were using, this was Regulation Set G, and they were using a Calyrex Shadow Rider with Assault Vest. So I already knew about their team building, and yeah, this team should be no different, with a Fairy Feather Fluttermane, with a Citrus Berry, Terragrass, Entei, and Ogerpon Cornerstone, which is just a combination of Pokemon that I have never seen before, and I would probably not see again. A couple of Femi and their friends were using this team actually, and also ended up placing well. Femi ended up in the top 16, despite, spoiler alert, despite losing to me in this one. But I ended up going for some, pretty aggressive reads with my Incineroar. I kind of just, I think, got in some nice parting shots. And in the first game, there was a positioning, I remember this one, where I had Ogre Pawn, they had Ogre Pawn, and I was boosted up by a Sword Stance, I think. Or I was Terra, so I was at +1. And I predicted them to go for Terra Rock. And now, yeah, with the Terra Rock, I think they already had taken a little bit of damage, so Sturdy was already broken. And so instead of going for Ivy Cudgel, I went for Grassy Glide, and I got it correct. They went for Terra Rock. I win the speed tie, and Grassy Glide just KOs the Ogre Pawn. So yeah, I won game 1 off of that. And then in the second game, they ended up going for a very, very early Terra with Entei, but I didn't go for the Surging Strikes in that slot. I played like, I don't remember, maybe I targeted down the partner or I played defensively. But essentially, yeah, they kind of wasted their Terra a little bit, and I had I had Ogre Pawn waiting in the back. So once Entei was terrestrialized into grass, I could just go for Ivy Cudgel to knock it out. And yeah, with that, I managed to go and move on to 10-2. Perfect. Yeah, day 2 up until this point, winning all 3 games after losing to Stefano in round 9. And yeah, I was of course really, really happy moving on to top 16. That means a lot of championship points. That means now there's some prize money involved. But unfortunately, I was paired up against Lewis. I didn't talk about this yet, but Lewis, good friend of mine, actually, we decided on the evening before the tournament that I was talking about my team and showing it to him a little bit, and then he was ready to go with a completely different team. But I was talking to him about some of the game plans, and then he was like, okay, you know what? Yeah, like I should be running this team. And so he asked me if it was okay if he could use it too. And so I explained to him what all the different Pokemon were supposed to do. We refined some of the spreads and talked about some game plans. And so he ended up running the same team. And well, he also ended up doing pretty well. In fact, we were matched up and played in top 16. And this was down to like the stat points. It was a complete mirror, and not the greatest to be playing a mirror like this against a friend. I mean, I've had this happen before, but it's nice at the one hand, of course, that it means both of you did pretty well up until this point. But at the same time, you don't really want to knock out a friend, and also you don't really want to be knocked out by a full mirror. There's not too much to analyze about these games. I ended up taking some big risks in the first game, and it paid off. And then in the second game, I think, we were both also a little bit tired at this point, and he made a quite significant mistake. I think he forgot that my Fluttermane was already at -1 speed, and then he ended up going for a Grassy Glide where he could have gone for Ivy Cudgel instead, and Fluttermane ended up barely living, and that was enough for me to come back into the game, get off some more icy wins, and then I got off a Pain Split soon after that, and then I was just winning the damage trade. And 2-0 and moved on into top 8. And this is unfortunately where my journey ended, because I was playing against the eventual winner, Stefano Grappi. One of my friends pointed out, maybe I'm weak against Stefano's second one in the tournament and second loss. But no, he played really, really well. We were playing on stream, and I was a little bit tired already at this point, and then we had to wait like a full hour because there was another game going on stream before us. And I should have used the time better to prep for this team, but I was like, you know what, it's like very similar to some of the teams that I've already played against in this tournament. But then I actually realized, as we were getting closer to the match, I realized that U-turn on Rillaboom actually is a big deal in this matchup, because if this was high horsepower, then typically I could use my Terra Grass to scare away the Rillaboom. But against U-turn, it's not that easy, and this is also what ended up happening in the second game, where I was thinking about going for Terra Grass against his Landorus and Rillaboom, but I was afraid of U-turn and decided not to do it, but he just went for the Woodhammer and yeah, got the read right. And then I'm already in, like, I was already lost basically after the first turn. The first game, I think I played, yeah, I played that one pretty okay until like a certain point where I had a KO threat on his Incineroar with Moonblast and High Horsepower, but I ended up going for Taunt and High Horsepower into his Landorus, which was Terra Poison and at -1 speed. But yeah, maybe there I needed to make a little bit more of an aggressive play, because then next turn I went for Pain Split in High Horsepower, but the Incineroar barely lived. And then also the Rillaboom just yeah, went for Woodhammer once more, knocked out Fluttermane, and then without that I couldn't break through the Landorus anymore. So yeah, he knew what he had to do and just played really well in the top 8 and then also the rest of the top cut. Ended up winning the tournament. In fact, only dropped one set the entire tournament against Oscar. Well done, Oscar, in another balance mirror. But yeah, that was my run at Birmingham Regionals, top 8. I'm pretty happy for that, and I think I'll do a little bit more of a detailed reaction to my match against Jono that we played on stream. But yeah, what's next for me? Of course, I also got to grind now for EUIC, because with the points that I'm getting for the top 8, I am in striking distance, I would say, for a Worlds invite, and yeah, of course I really want to try and qualify for my 12th, I think, Worlds at this point, and keep the streak alive of consecutive Worlds invites that I have been yeah, extending since 2014. So yeah, pretty excited to come off of such a strong finish in Birmingham. And yeah, if you want to support me and the channel, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, of course. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about the team, but for the time being, I'm not releasing the EV splits because, well, first of all, they're not mine. They're mainly made by Justin Karras, and then also by Lewis and myself. We made some changes the night before. And secondly, I might want to use a similar team at EUIC. And yeah, since I don't have so many tournaments left, I just need to yeah, keep any edge. And I also don't want to play against this team because it is pretty strong. So yeah, if you want to try it out, I think also some basic EVs will probably also do you just fine. But yeah, that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and see you guys soon. Bye bye.